This is nuts. Anyone got a question? What was that?
Why did you kill Ray?
Thanks for being patient, everybody. No problem.
As long as you don't cut it short, we don't.
Yeah, that's good. Although that's beautiful.
Wow.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for your patience. We're just waiting on Guy and Robert to come down from upstairs where they're doing press and photos, but really pleased that David just bounded down on his own accord and thrilled to have him here in the house this evening.
I just wanted a little bit of me time before you.
Seen each other for a couple of months, so this is when we meet on stages in front of people.
Which is precisely the place to be.
Absolutely.
Now, I think that the people sitting here need very little introduction from me, and you've also just had the privilege of seeing the fantastic film, The Rover. We're really thrilled to have David, Robert and Guy here tonight to talk about the film. I'm going to start, David, by asking you something about the background of the development of the film, given I understand from the script that you were working before you actually made Animal Kingdom. And for me, I think it's a really terrific, powerful and very tense kind of Western that has little nods here and there to films like Mad Max and, of course, the wonderful Australian classic Waking Fright that we had the great privilege of presenting the restoration print here a few months back. But it also creates its very own distinct universe and one that has its own kind of quite coherent logic. So what prompted this particular story, and can you tell us about how you developed it?
Yeah, I wrote the first draft of it before I made Animal Kingdom. Originally, Joel Edgerton and I were in LA, and we were just kind of, well, I was just bored and frightened. I'm sure Joel had some things to do, but and we just started throwing around ideas for a movie that we thought maybe his brother Nash would direct, and because Nash, being a stuntman and a great practitioner of action cinema, we thought we'd be writing a sort of action movie in the desert type thing with cars, and I went away to write a first draft, and then almost immediately started writing a David Michaud movie rather than a Nash Edgerton movie, which doesn't have any, my one doesn't have any car chases in it except for that one at the beginning. It's like I literally started writing a Nash movie and then I was fuck it. Yeah, and then I went and made Animal Kingdom, spent a fair bit of time trying to work out what to do next. Just looking at all, suddenly my life turned upside down. I was just looking at the landscape, what my new landscape was like, and then, but always had in the back of my head the idea, I really wanted to do this one. I wanted to do this one because Animal Kingdom was kind of a big, dense, sprawling sort of tapestry of characters, and rather than try and do something like that or even bigger than that, I decided that I loved the idea of this. It would allow me the opportunity to play in a tonal world that was dissimilar to Animal Kingdom's, just kind of darkness and menace and tension and sadness. But that would operate very differently on a formal level, that it's something really lean and elemental and almost like a kind of dark minor fable. just a tiny number of characters in a vast empty landscape. End sentence.
Can I ask both Guy and Robert, Guy, you have a long history, I think, of working with real risk-taking, visionary directors like John Hillcoat, Catherine Bigelow, Chris Nolan, and Robert, this is something I think we're seeing beginning to develop too in your career, 2 films now with David Cronenberg and upcoming projects with Herzog and also Anton Corbijn. Can I ask both of you to talk a little bit about the importance, I guess, of that relationship with a visionary director and how you forged that, and also what attracted each of you to this particular film?
Well, it's a great question, because ultimately I think as an actor you realise once you start working that so much of, you have all the ideas about what you want to do, and you have sort of versions of a character that you want to play, and you really want to feel safe and secure and inspired by your director, and really just by the experience that you're having on set. And it sort of occurred to me after a number of films that if you don't get that, you're sort of at a loss, and you're kind of fighting. You're fighting to sort of have your say, and you're fighting to be interesting, unique, individual. You're just fighting to kind of have your voice heard, I suppose. And then you get lucky, and you work with Curtis Hanson, or you work with Chris Nolan, or Tom Hooper, or John Hillcoat, or David Nisha. And you start to realise that the inspiration and the excitement about everything that you find within yourself regarding what you have to offer can be supported, and not only supported but encouraged, and sort of with sort of great enthusiasm by great directors. And not to suggest that I can only work with great directors, but it's so much better working with a great director than a crap one. Let's be honest. I can be pretty bad at times, and if I'm with a crap director, then then I'm going to be pretty bad. So I think as an artist and as a performer, as an actor, you really want to find somebody who's going to go, I'm there with you. Any crazy shit you want to try, I support you all the way. If it's not right for the movie, I'm going to say to you, but if it's right for the movie, then fucking great. We've gone somewhere that, we normally wouldn't. And so you then start to seek that out. After 10, 20 years in the industry, you start to go, oh, well, I only really want to work with good, interesting directors, And David emailed me or called me, I can't remember exactly, and said, I've got this script. And I was like, oh my God, So I'd worked with David on Animal Kingdom, and clearly was a fan of his style and his sort of, he's unique, he has a unique sense of timing and character development and story realisation and all those little intricacies that are sort of there in a film that a lot of people kind of skim over and kind of fuck up, just because I don't know how so many filmmakers are really not very interesting. Because it takes a lot of effort to make a film, and I'm surprised by the amount of people that have a lot of chutzpah, but don't have the talent to back it up, And then you come across someone like John Hillcoat or David, obviously, and you go, oh, thank God, you're sort of tasting the food that you want to be tasting, And you move forward, and you kind of develop, and you feel as an artist you progress, and it starts to feel like the only way to work. I saw a great interview with Nicole Kidman where she sort of went, all I do now is just seek out the great directors, because I know they're going to bring out the best in me. And I know when I did LA Confidential, and people say to me, oh, congratulations, great performance or whatever, and I go, I had nothing to do with that performance. Curtis Hanson got that performance out of me. And I think that's when you know it's exciting, when a director gets something out of you that you don't even know exists, you know, as opposed to going, it's all right, I'll give you look number 2, I'll give you look number 7. yeah, absolutely, whatever you want. You know.
Robert, how many looks have you got in your bag?
It's a pretty good one though, isn't it? That one look.
But seriously, is it a similar kind of impulse that attracts you to work on a project like this?
Yeah, I mean, I met David when I'd seen the teaser trailer for Animal Kingdom, so the 90-second bit with, what's his name, the Air Supply son, the Amor Out of Love, the Air Supply son. And from that, I was like, I don't want to do that guy. And when I saw the shorts after, it was such a great trailer. And you could just tell, just think about timing, a very specific sense of timing. And I met him, and then the script came, and it was just like ridiculous. The script's ridiculous. And
In what way?
In a good way. The spelling was bad. There were no full stops.
another level of
There were pictures.
But yeah, I don't know, it made you want to, it was, I guess, out of anyone's comfort zone. I think when me and Guy started doing it, you know, it's a very unusual script. And but yeah, from Animal Kingdom, from the shorts and stuff, I just knew I was doing it. It's trust. It's like the whole thing is just trust. You think about Nicole, there's like 20 directors in the world who any actor should work with, and there are some even forget about.
I'm assuming they weren't. I'm sorry, I don't. You work your way up towards it. I'm happy it is.
One of the things that I really love about the film is the sort of tension between this very exterior world and the very interior world of both your characters. I want to ask David first just about, because the Australian landscape is such a character in this film as well, but when you're working on such powerful kind of evocative locations, I guess the degree to which design is also in there is kind of maybe less visible, and yet this is a really highly designed film as well. Can you talk about how you approach that sort of combination of elements, if you like?
Well, everything is secondary to the people playing the characters and the places that they're playing them in. It's like cast and locations are the first thing for me. You know, I don't want to disparage the contribution that all the other heads of the department bring, but I think they would probably say the same thing. As soon as you know who's going to play the characters and where they're going to be playing them, then everything else fits itself around those things. And so, when we get out there, in terms of my work with Natasha Breyer, the cinematographer, it was very much, servicing those landscapes, which are both incredibly intimidating and impressive and hauntingly beautiful at the same time. So we, for instance, didn't want to push the look of the film too hard. We wanted it to look, but oppressive and beautiful, but we didn't want it to have a kind of look. Joe Ford, for instance, it was in a lot of respect, the production designer, she was just about augmenting the world of it. A lot of those towns are, look at Marie, the town where we spent the last 3 weeks of the shoot. I was watching the film just tonight, and I wonder if people think that we did a whole lot of visual effects work to this town, all of the busted buildings and stuff. That's what that town looks like. It's amazing. Is that the kind of thing you want to do?
Can I ask you, Robert? I think it's a really terrific performance, and you really play a character that, in a sense, is kind of, you know, folding in on himself, and an extremely interior character. How, when I guess we're used to thinking about performance as something that's projecting outwards, how do you work with that?
That's something to probably that this is me at my max of expressing myself. I thought I was being really effusive.
Always good to look at.
Sorry, but how?
I guess I'm just interested in how, when you're playing to a camera, but you're clearly working on something that's very internal in terms of what you're projecting. So how do you sort of, wrestle with that, if you like?
I mean, as I started doing it, when we were doing the scene, I mean, Eric has such a kind of, well, as Guy was playing it, it's such a constant like focus and energy, and so and very, very singular, especially in the scenes which I have with you, and so you don't really have to. It's it sounds really ridiculous, but you're constantly being penetrated.
The actors, the catering, pretty much everyone in
Ray's like super reactive, and so it's kind of, it was kind of falling apart the whole time. I don't know how much of it was a conscious decision, because it's just someone he's been told his whole life that he's not allowed to speak. And so even when Eric is aggressively saying, "Speak, you're an idiot," it's still the first time he's actually required to speak. It takes. I don't even know what I'm saying.
absolutely right. I mean, I just think that
You're saying you didn't want to be penetrated. You did get the corner around not wanting to be penetrated. Which actually makes a lot of sense.
I'm sick of it.
more penetration.
I'm going interior.
So I asked you how.
Yes, I wore a condom. Yes. Already safe.
So how did you develop these characters together? Were you actually, doing a lot of rehearsal work together, or were you?
I know. Well, I mean, the script really, on some level, the script said it all. Obviously, I had a lot of questions for David. Because of the nature of the character that I play, we find him at a point in his life where he's sort of everything's stripped away and he's kind of a shell of the version that he used to be. So David and I had a lot of conversations because I was useless at trying to find out who this guy was, So there was that going on. David and I had that going on. And we rehearsed, the three of us, in a hotel room in Adelaide for like a week before we headed off up the highway to the Flinders Ranges. And during that period, I mean, the interesting thing about the relationship that Rob and I have in the film is that it develops as the film